Yu-Gi-Oh is a game notorious for its complexity and not its accessibility. But with Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel's release in early 2022, a new age of duelists were introduced to the modern card game. But is this Konami's success story setting up the franchise for success? Or is Master Duel planting the wrong kind of seeds for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community? Joining me today to discuss that topic is longtime Yu-Gi-Oh! Content creator and multi-time YCS Day 2 participant. He's a one-time mono, one-time blue, one-time Tron, MBT Yu-Gi-Oh! Thanks for joining me, Mr. Blue Tang.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start off with some really softball questions. Now, Master Duel, rest assured, I'm not a Konami plant. You know, I'm sure I've said some things that maybe have even put me on their blacklists, but let's pretend they're not listening for a second. Do you think Master Duel is a good introductory product for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game?
Well, I would really never want to denigrate Konami or any of their wonderful products, from their Yu-Gi-Oh! Branded pachinko machines to their Yu-Gi-Oh! Branded gacha simulator. I think Master Duel is fine as an introductory product. It's about as good as anything else, which is to say it is quite bad, but what are you going to do?
In the last 2 years, has Master Duel sort of spurned the growth of Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially in the IRL scene?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I remember like 6 months ago there was that press release that came out where one of the investors was like, "We're not seeing the crossover between Master Duel players and IRL players that we want." But I don't know how much of that is like Master Duel isn't translating to IRL and how much of that is like,
"We want every human who has touched this product to buy cardboard for $90.
Personally, like after the release of Master Duel, attendance at every locals I've ever been to has been unbelievable relative to how it was before Master Duel, before COVID. And I know a ton of people who got into, consuming Yu-Gi-Oh! Content because they wanted to see people who had figured out fun things to do specifically in the realm of Master Duel. I think it is largely responsible for a lot of kind of the renaissance of Yu-Gi-Oh! Despite what the shareholders might believe.
So let's get to some of the more serious questions. And you touched on one there. You said spending $90 plus. Let's talk about cost. Master Duel recently saw the release of the card Bonfire, an incredibly powerful searcher, with a price tag upwards of $50, $60, $70. But only about 30 UR dust in Master Duel, which is about the same as, Rookie Warrior Lady. How do you TCG players cope with that sort of pricing, and do you see it as a significant barrier for a new player?
Oh, okay. So from my perspective, I have this ability, provided that I make some sort of video content of a card or deck, to, at the end of the year, hand my CPA a document that says, "This bonfire was used as part of a production process for a video." No, I don't do that. Please don't audit me. It's awful. It's terrible. I don't know. Yu-Gi-Oh's always been really expensive in the TCG, and it's really irritating for a number of reasons. The OCG's distribution model has always been staggering compared to what we have, and now that we have a video game where these cards are nothing, it is really irritating to still have to go out and buy reinforcement of the army, except it costs $80. I think that in the past, before Master Duel, we all kind of gritted our teeth and we were like, "Oh, that's just the price of playing Yu-Gi-Oh!" You play a rogue deck or you play something that's super expensive, and then you lose like your investment at the end of the deck's life cycle. It's kind of the Bonfire print and Snake Eye in general is kind of a perfect nexus of every price-related problem that Yu-Gi-Oh's ever had. It's the first super expensive deck after COVID, when like people really took a look at how they were budgeting and spending money. It's the first super expensive deck after Master Duel, when people are like, "Wait, these are just game pieces. Like, we can get these for a pittance online." And the end result is it is precipitating a format that on Master Duel, on automatic simulators like Dueling Book or Omega or I guess Edo Pro, is, in my opinion, like manageable and interactive. But in paper, has these really powerful decks way underrepresented because people are just audibling out of purchasing cards. A lot of people are playing terrible, unfun decks that they shouldn't be, like Stun and the like. So the paper metagame is just infinitely worse than it should be. It's really freaky. The way that we cope with it, to answer your question, is we pretend and we hope against hope that it will be in the Rarity Collection 2, and we practice online until then.
To be fair, the cheap entry to Master Duel hasn't stopped stun players.
I will say I've played, I want to say, 4 Challenger Cups, and I have never played against stun. In my last 4 locals, I've played against 6 different stun players in 24 rounds. So again, anecdotal, but people around me are freaks.
Moving on, sort of in that same vein though, structure decks are often cited as a great way to build a competent strategy on a 2024 budget. Do you think a bright-eyed duelist walking in with 3 structure decks and unsleeved cards would have a good time at their first local, or do you think they'll kind of get stepped all over until they inevitably swear off Yu-Gi-Oh?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like pretty much everyone's having a pretty bad time unless they're playing exactly Snake Eye. But yeah, it's always been kind of strange to recommend that new players get in through structures when it's like probably every 5th structure is really, really good. The Shadal one, the Soul Burner one, the Dinosaur one, the Monarch one. The Fire King one was fine. I think people talk about the Trap Tricks one like it's competent, but I think they're coping. We've recently seen kind of a move towards structures that are meant to supplement other archetypes but can be played pure. Like the Fire King one specifically is like, you can play this and go 2/2 at locals with just the cards that are found in this. But if you want to put in Snake Eye cards, you can actually do well. And I really like the direction they are going with it. I think the we've got, far be it for me to talk about leaks.
And so he did not. But when asked about potential structure decks with staples like Triple Tactics Thrust or 2005 Machine Dragons, MBT had this to say.
This is the type of introductory product that could be good for new players. I just hope they lean more into that and less into, here's the 2-player structure deck. Good luck. Have fun facing off against Snake Eye for 4 rounds.
Yeah, I think the pack effect really affected people's opinion on that Trap Tricks.
He was responsible for the Shadal one too. Everyone was like, "Oh wow, this thing's crazy. Pack is doing so well." It's like, yeah, he's always doing well.
All right, now I want to pivot into sort of the dueling etiquette side of things. Obviously, when you play in a simulator, things are automatic. There's a lot less talking to the other person. So my first question would be, do you have any experience at locals or otherwise with clear Master Duel converts, like people who don't declare their phases or think high roll is just a tier limit mill strategy?
Occasionally, one of my opponents will just pull out their phone and start watching Subway Surfers in the middle of my setup.
You just ruined my script, unironically.
I'm so sorry.
When my opponent is comboing, sometimes I'll pull up something else on my computer, like watching my favorite YouTuber, DZeef. So my question would be, is it appropriate to say, pull out my phone and load up Subway Surfers?
My experience with Master Duel converts has been they largely play around Maxi. Like, they will announce, like, oh, I didn't draw Maxi, don't worry. And then we both go, haha. And then we keep going. I mean, I can't tell if Master Duel players are a little more socially awkward, but it helps that the meter stick by which they are measured is other Yu-Gi-Oh players. So, like, how socially awkward can you really be? You're still playing across the table from someone who's, like, got the Trap Tricks feet mat. It's going to be weird.
That's a good point, because Yu-Gi-Oh players have a lot of stereotypes put on them, and occasionally we can't beat the allegations. Recently, a certain viral tweet denoted a player leaving a venue due to what was perceived to be bad-mannered behavior, but turned out to be chemical-grade weapon odors. Do you think Yu-Gi-Oh players are their own special case, or is that just classic convention negligence?
No, I mean, we're pretty bad. There is an aura that exists at locals, and it's rank. It is not good.
One of the coolest parts of paper Yu-Gi-Oh is being a part of a hopefully like-minded community of individuals. One of the coolest parts about digital Yu-Gi-Oh is knowing I'll never have to run to that runic stun player again. How do you deal with individuals that you may have some bad blood with, either gameplay or otherwise, knowing that, you're going to have to see him again?
I board against him. I started showing up to local. Like I said, my local had a lot of stun players. I started showing up with just absolutely heinous decisions being made in the main deck. I was like, I've got to be playing main deck evenly in Lightning Storm and Solemn Judgment. I need these people to learn their lesson. But in terms of people who maybe don't have a gameplay issue, but maybe like another issue,
Right.
I found peer pressure is always really good. If someone says something fucked up, it's not too hard to be like, "Oh, come on, man." And a couple of other people go, "That was kind of fucked up," and then they'll stop forever.
Master Duel hold on. Master Duel turns can take a long time, and that's with the help of things like auto deck searching, shuffling, and more importantly, those long turns are often cited as one of the 13 reasons why people give up on modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Do you find that turn timers are as much of an issue when you introduce a player for the first time through paper?
Yes. Turn timing is so much worse in paper because there are just a lot of actions you can take in a turn. You can play at pace and go into time 9 rounds in a row at a YCS. It's hard to be like, okay, new player, you have to be cognizant of every single thing that's happening on the field. And you have to do it like really quickly because you will probably it is so likely you'll go to time that pretty much everyone is playing cards designed to win them a scenario in which that happens. It's Master Duel isn't perfect, you know. I've played enough Challenger Cups where rounds went to time and people had a dispute about it, but it is nice that there really is a maximum of how long you can take.
All right, now let's move on and talk about some future perspectives when it comes to Master Duel. So, Konami recently unveiled a new hand trap, the new Peruria hand trap. It's kind of being billed as a nerfed version of Max C since it lets you draw based on the amount of cards normal or special summoned from the hand, and has limits to the amount of cards you get to keep. Now, if I were Max C, I'd be hitching a ride to Argentina to evade the next ban list. But if Max C does get the axe, what do you think about the possibility of a one true Yu-Gi-Oh format?
That is not the direction I thought that question was going. I think, first of all, it would be a huge mistake to let a card as powerful as Maxi just get banned. Maybe give it the option to run our space agencies. But definitely, I want one true format. I think one true format is the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! It sucks that we have to wait 6 months to play with the cool new toys that they get in the OCG. The bulk of kind of format development happens elsewhere, and we're just playing like catch up. I want it more than anything else. But yes, it is absolutely mandatory that Maxi is gone before that happens. The real fear for me is that they release this multi-chummy, which I think is a good card, but they release it and they don't ban Maxi. They're just like, nope, now there's 6 Maxis you have to worry about in the OCG and Master Duel. Fingers crossed that doesn't happen.
Throughout the first 2 years of Master Duel, tournaments have come and gone, what with Decade's Meta Weekly, your very own Master Circuit Series, and now Konami's own Challenger Cup. How do you feel Master Duel tournaments fit into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitive sphere, and do you think that it will be a growing commodity for the foreseeable future?
It's kind of weird. When Master Duel was first being sold, they described it as a bunch of things, I think, designed to just get investors on board. One of them was the best way to play the TCG and the OCG, which is we're still waiting on. But most interesting part of their original press release run was that they talked a lot about how they wanted Master Duel to be Konami's kind of foray into esports. And, that can't happen unless there's a consistent tournament structure kind of undergirding the thing. With the exception of the meta weeklies that Decade is doing, which, I appreciate that he is doing them, but they are not such an expansive tournament series that they can single-handedly carry a tournament infrastructure the way like he could with Duel Links. The Master Circuit series was a lot of fun, but it wasn't really financially viable for me as an individual. These tournament series just have to sort of be loss leaders, like reasons to get people invested in your game. And Master Duel is basically a money printer, so it's pretty easy to recoup the losses. I think that it would be really cool if Master Duel could be like a big esport and people could get hyped about the world finals in Master Duel. I think the fact that this year's world final included like a number of like hugely immediately recognizable big names was really good for the future of it. But without kind of a consistent tournament scene, I don't see that happening. I think that they're doing a great job with Challenger Cups. I think they're great. The only complaint I have about them is the number of rounds. It's just like play for 5 rounds and go undefeated for the chance to win a stuffed animal, which is a little less exciting than I would have hoped.
But I have one final question. Last but not least.
Yeah.
If I show up to a YCS, will you sign my copy of White Baking?
I would say I've probably signed more Ghost Trick Angel of Mischiefs than any other card, but the second card by a lot is Synchro Cracker. Someday, Konami is going to catch on, and they are going to ban that card so that I stop disrupting tournaments.
I want to thank you for all the time. This has been wonderful. Are there any sort of shout-outs that you want to give out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm MBT. I'm all over the internet as that. But everyone, please listen to Will of the Council. It's the podcast that we're trying to pump. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. How much is this going to cost me?